Hello there. I'm going to wait a little bit and see if anybody's coming and get some of my notes ready. Then I'm going to get started. All right, well, Happy New Year to each of you once again. As the new year has started, we are always looking for ways to improve our life for whatever reason. The month changes from December to January, and then we have added motivation to improve it. So if organization was one of those things that you wanted to get on top of this year, this is a live stream for you. I have a little bit of content, and then if there's some questions, I'll take them afterward, just about anything, just a live Q&A if you'd like. So what I wanted to talk about today was all of the mail that piles up as we have our financial statements. I'm just like you. So my mail comes for my bank statements, my investment statements. It sits on the counter for a period of time, and then it might get shuffled over to a file where it says, file these documents, and then eventually to the filing cabinet. Or depending on what it is, maybe I shred it. So you don't have to be frustrated with all of those statements and figuring out what you have to organize and whatnot. I'm going to give you some tips on how to narrow down what you actually need to organize and then how to go about organizing it. So last week I talked about how to organize that filing cabinet or bin, whatever your choice of organization is, what kind of categories you want to put there. Now looking specifically at the investments folder, how do you want to organize that section? What kind of statements do you actually need to put in? Because one thing is true, financial services, once you start investing, there is so much mail. It is ridiculous. So much mail. So don't get overwhelmed with it, and let's just hop on in. Okay, so the first thing that you need to figure out is what is the actual mail that you are receiving. So there's a couple different categories. I'm going to go over what they look like. I have an example of one, usually the most or the least understood. I've got an example of that here. So the first is a prospectus. And this is something that your financial advisor has to give you when you open the account. They have to show you what you're investing in. You have to get a document, a marketing piece that shows you exactly what you are investing in. Some advisors give that in paper form and they'll hand that right to you. Other advisors might send that electronically or tell you to go on the website to look at the prospectus there. The prospectus basically just gives a breakdown of what investment you have or are planning to invest in. It shows you what the parameters of the fund is, and then like who's on the board, what types of investment, how much they could invest in commodities or specific stocks, or if they can be global or just stay within the United States, all of those things. This prospectus is very, very detailed. It also says how many shares are available to this offering. The prospectus is very informational and is encouraged to be read. It is pretty heavy. Usually it's 20 plus pages. So yeah, but that's what's going to give you the most information, most accurate information for the investment that you have. It's the technical SEC filing. So your advisor is going to give you one once you start investing, but then you tend to get them often, maybe once a year or so, from the investment itself. So people get this thick thing. This is the prospectus itself for one of the investments we've had. As you can see, it's very thick. And it just ends up cluttering up some mailboxes. So the prospectus, you can read it. It's not something you have to keep. It also doesn't have any personal information on it. It's just it's just a static thing. It might have one page that has your mailing address. Rip that off. It can be recycled. so you don't even have to file it unless you want to. So the prospectus is usually the one that bogs down people's stacks or their file box the most. So be happy that you can just disregard it, make sure you get that recycled, and then shred the piece of paper that has your name, your mailing address, along with the title of the investment, just so somebody can't see exactly what you're investing in if you don't want them to see it. Okay. The next is an annual report. This is also something that's sent annually, hence the name annual report. Very clever. The annual report gives a breakdown of what's happened in the last year, if there's been some big changes. It's, again, not something specific to you, to your setup, to the time frame that you have invested. It's simply a look for that company, what's happened in that last year. So it's something that you can glance at, see how the operations of the investments have done, and then once you're finished with it, tear off the page that has your personal information on it, your address, and then you can recycle the rest of that. It's usually a couple of pages, just depends from company to company. If it's a mutual fund, it might be a little bit bigger. If it's a stock, it might, each one does its own thing. Okay. The next is a trade confirmation. So if you have a brokerage platform or even directly with an investment, they have to tell you every time you get mail, they have to tell you every time a trade is made in your account. So that's what generates that confirmation. And it's a good thing. It gives you the double check. Okay, I wanted to place this trade. Yes, this trade went through. Good, everything's in order. When you receive that trade confirmation, assuming you are expecting it, you should know that it happened. Unless you have like a managed account with an advisor, then it might be something that the advisor is doing on your behalf. So you just want to make sure what arrangement you have with your advisor. This trade confirmations, once you've confirmed it's happened, it is as it's supposed to be, you can shred it if you'd like. Sometimes I like to keep those until I get the month-end statement or quarter-end statement and just confirm that they're on the statement, and then at that point I can shred it. I don't typically keep my trade confirmations because it is reported on the quarterly statement or monthly statement. But again, that has personal information, including account number, so you want to shred that document. Okay, so that ties right into the quarterly, monthly statement. This is what you look at to see how your investment has performed. Different companies report differently. Usually if it's directly with a mutual fund, the reporting is really easy to read. Once you get to the brokerage type of account where you have multiple mutual funds on one platform, the statement can be a little bit confusing because they're reporting some different things that may or may not have significance to you. So a lot of times what I see is people like to just compare month over month, how's my account done? Is it up? Is it down? What's the market done? Is it comparing? And then put that away in a filing system. What I like to do when it comes to the year-end statement, so you have monthly statements or quarterly statements, and then there's the year-end statement. So you should be just now receiving your year-end statement from your investments. The year-end statement should cover every piece of information that you've received on your account for that year. So all of those trade confirmations should be showing on your year-end statement. Any purchases, that's on the trade confirmation. But yeah, that's what it shows. And it also shows the performance year over year. That's the document that I want to be filing, my year-end statement. So basically all of the other statements, I don't typically file personally. I don't really like a big paper trail, and I don't like full filing cabinets, so that's why I prefer not to file them. There are some people that really like paper, and they will hold on to everything that's been sent to them. To each their own. I just think it's more clutter. So if you don't need to keep it, don't. Okay, I believe that's all I have for today. Short and sweet, but just thinking about the new year and wanting to make sure that you are on track with your organization of your documents. I think that's going to be a really good tip for you to kind of really sort through, what is this document that I'm looking at? This is all Greek to me. Now you can kind of pick out what's important to keep and what is not important to keep. So to wrap it up, to sum it up, Most things are not important to keep so long as you have your annual statement, and that annual statement reflects every little piece of transaction that you've received over the year. So with that, I will conclude today's live show, and we will look forward to seeing you next week on the Happiness IRA for our live for our live stream. And yeah, looking forward to it. Have a good one.